Hello, I'm Sally Taylor. Welcome to South Today. In tonight's programme, misery for many. A month's rainfall in 24 hours. Flooding causes roads to close and hundreds of people are moved out of their homes.
The water had come in so far, it had frazzled the electrics and got up and there was just water everywhere, absolutely everywhere.
Winter's here as torrential rain and flash flooding lashed southern England this morning. Dozens of properties were swamped, some people had to be rescued by boat and many cars were overwhelmed. For thousands of others, just getting to work was a pretty tricky task. The average monthly rainfall in November is around 85 millimetres, that's 3.3 inches. 80 millimetres fell in just 24 hours at Duncton near Petworth. While at Eastney and Portsmouth it was 70 millimetres, that's 2 3/4 inches. We've 3 reports tonight from West Sussex and the Isle of Wight, but we start at Emsworth in East Hampshire, where, as Mark Sanders reports, one street became a canal.
The emergency services had to use boats to get people safely away from their homes and the torrent of water that swept through here. Among those rescued, a 1-week-old baby, all though were safe and well. It was a flash flood that couldn't be stopped. Water coursed through houses, causing damage and distress.
The speed it came in, once we knew about it, was absolutely crazy. So it was just a sort of a job of sealing the doors, because obviously they're not tight as you would have liked, and hopefully sort of stop any more coming in.
As well as Hampshire Fire and Rescue, the RNLI were deployed in this operation.
The flooding was actually up to the windows of the cars and up around the windscreen wipers, so it was actually quite a serious flood right the way through. All the cars were stuck and homes were flooded.
The water did eventually subside, but this was a serious incident.
It was due to the stream nearby. There was a culvert that got blocked, and quickly, due to the downpour, the stream quickly flooded the rest of the road, and that's what caused the problem.
A community centre was opened for those who had to leave their homes. Now the concentration is on the clean-up. Mark Sanders, BBC South Today, Emsworth.
Well, on the Isle of Wight, around 100 firefighters have been dealing with a stream of call-outs to flooded homes and businesses. Roads were closed and 2 schools were shut. Worst hit was Ryde, from where Steve Humphrey reports.
It's a soaking wet, miserable nightmare. Today, one family was salvaging possessions from this rented basement flat in Ryde.
Got up and there was just water everywhere, absolutely everywhere.
Hours earlier, they'd had to get their 14-month-old baby son out through a window.
My husband climbed out and then I passed him through the kitchen window because we couldn't open the front door because it would have just let so much more water in.
During the day, the island's fire service had 76 calls for help with flooding. 65 were from the Ryde area. Amongst the businesses that were hit by the deluge was the Tenerife Hotel.
There's just not a lot you can do at the moment, you know.
Well, do you feel fairly powerless to cope with it?
Absolutely. We're waiting for someone to come and help, really.
The flooding started after the Monkton Mead Brook burst its banks, turning the local wreck into a lake. Some locals pointed the finger of blame at this pumping station, but Southern Water says it's been working well, moving 550 litres of floodwater every second.
However, a spokesman said that it's simply not designed to cope with the volume of water that's fallen over the past 24 hours.
This afternoon, the fire service installed a high-capacity pump to try to reduce the water levels. Steve Humphrey, BBC South Today, Ryde.
West Sussex got the worst of the weather in the early hours of the morning. Several major roads were closed, including the A27 at Fontwell and the A29 near Storrington. Special teams from the AA had to pull 25 cars from floodwater in Hampshire and Sussex. Sean Killick watched one of the teams in action.
Welcome to Felpham on Sea, or at least that's how things looked today at this village just outside Bognor Regis. Hundreds of cars had diverted from the A27 at Chichester, which was closed due to flooding, only to find the A259 Coast Road blocked here. Many were determined to get through regardless, but several became stranded and had to be rescued by the breakdown services.
You've got to wear a life jacket then?
Yeah, what we've got to be careful of is the manhole covers. They pop up and then you don't realise and you can get sucked straight in. So we're going to have to take this very carefully.
Here's one motorist they saved earlier.
Got pushed through by a fireman and an AA guy and told to wait for about an hour just to see it, but it still won't go.
Drivers who'd been jammed for hours were turned back, an utterly frustrating day for all.
I've so far done 61 miles today. That's in 6 hours.
Inland, homes at Ashington were flooded with up to 7 inches of water.
It was very severely bad in this area. We have had flooding here before, but this morning it was fast flowing water and unfortunately went straight through the house to my right, which has suffered severe flooding.
The emergency services are bracing themselves for further heavy rain later in the week. Sean Killick, BBC South Today, Ashington.